Hello, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me on the Fandid Artistpreneur podcast. How are you doing this lovely Thursday?
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for having me. I am doing so great. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll get into all of that a little bit later, but thank you so much for having me.
Of course, Jessica Louise is an incredible artist, entrepreneur, artistpreneur. She does it all and also helps a lot of amazing people, through create better art and also mentors a lot of people in helping them find their way. So we're so honored to be able to have Jessica. Jessica, when was the last time when was the first time we met? Was it a collaboration event?
I don't know. I think I maybe hired you before I even met you first. The circle was kind of small, back then it was like seven of us, like Asians.
Seven of it. Yeah, it's a good number. I do remember one distinct time though was when I had thrown like a collaboration. What was it? Open mic. Oh my goodness!
Oh
In
my
Pasadena,
God. At that coffee shop?
right? I don't
Was
even
that it?
remember what it was called, or it was such a random night.
Travis, you just put on so many things for so many artists and for yourself. Like, I'm kind of the same boat. I'm like, what did we do back then? Like,
And it's funny for anybody listening out there, like, what's it like to be an LA musician artist? It's literally like this because this is what I've heard. I've heard from friends that the reason why it's so hard to pinpoint days is because in LA, it always is like the same day. Like there's no weather patterns. But yeah, no, Jessica, would love to jump in and just, yeah, I think your story is so fascinating. But also, like, I realize I don't know everything. I don't know the whole story, right? About like what really was the catalyst and everything. To bring you out here. But yeah, would love to know where'd you grow up and then what brought you to LA?
this is amazing. Thanks for the opportunity. I actually grew up in Long Beach, so not too far, and was driving back and forth a lot. My parents immigrated here from the Philippines, and very similar to many other Asian children, I was very set to be a lawyer. Thought I would actually probably would have been a great lawyer. I just knew I was like, I love singing. And at the time I was in college and I got a scholarship to study theater at Cal State Long Beach. And acting actually was one of my first passions. And I'm so like one of these days I've always said like I'm definitely going back into acting and especially theater acting. There's just nothing like it.
Musical theater?
Yes. Musical theater. Yes.
I didn't grow up with it, but like in recent years, going to New York and seeing the shows, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could act in one, but I would love to like produce one or, there's actually an idea I have with a friend of mine who has an album. I'm trying to pseudo develop this thing about a story, but yeah, we'll talk later. But yeah, it's
Oh
a
my
passion of
God.
mine for sure.
Love it. All musical. I grew up with musical theater and it was funny is nobody in my household did it, but I was just like always singing. So I got a scholarship to study and I just kept auditioning for things and I kept getting it inside of school. And then it was my last year and I was like, okay, I'm auditioning for at other places. I kept getting rejected and my like fragile heart was like, this is what this life is like. I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
And I saw music as another avenue because music was entrepreneurial. Like it was the first time, Spotify had just come out. This was like in 2013. So Spotify was new. Instagram. Well, I remember posting food pics on Instagram every day. Like
Yeah.
there was like the first YouTube millionaires were coming out. Like, and I was like, oh wow, I could make music. I could sing for weddings. I could sing for events. I could practice getting better at singing while making money and build my career like that. And I could build a following on social media. We'll just see how that goes. And that was the main catalyst was I saw that with music I could create the life of my dreams versus with acting. It was really like I felt like I was subjected to the roles that I got, which were basically zero at the time. If I would have started then, it would have been great for me now. But
Was it sounds like it was the dynamic of, yeah, like with acting, it's almost like a spray and pray. You just like do everything that you can and it's really outside of your own fortitude, right? But with music, you could actually
yes,
do things that could help your career, right?
yes, exactly. So I just ended up going to as many events in Los Angeles, meeting as many people. You remember We on the 8th or Collaboration, all of these organizations that were like, we want to see more Asians at the thing. And I was like, that sounds like something I want to be a part of. And I networked my butt off every single night. I was either playing a show, playing on the street, or like meeting other people. And I was relentless. And nobody was, my parents and I are in such a great place now. But in the beginning, they were like, you cannot be a singer. This is, what do we move here for? And I was like, I'm going to do it. And it is this kind of like against all odds story. And I just was relentless in my pursuit of the life of my dreams.
If I could
then
ask you real
I
quick
was
on
like,
that. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
yeah.
I love the parent story, because I think that especially Asian Americans, it is such a point of contention because, yeah, exactly that. They escaped all these things, right, to bring us here, and all they want is our happiness. If I could ask you, you don't have to get too, detailed, but if I can ask you, what was the shift that enabled, your family to kind of, you said you're better now, because for me, it was like when my parents realized that, oh, like he's not going to die, or like there's income there. They were like, okay, maybe there's something here. But yeah, I would love to kind of hear your thought, your story with that.
Yeah, it was a mix of two things. One of them, like really there, like it was me also understanding my parents' commitment is not to stifle my dreams, which is, I think, how a lot of early artists hear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really like seeing like, wait, what are they actually committed to when they're telling me don't do this? And I saw that, and I was able to then create for them like, hey, I'm also committed to eating, to making a good living, to like all the things that you want me to do. And this took several conversations and years. But I stood inside of this commitment and thing that didn't exist yet. But I was just clear here in my heart and in my head, like, this is what's going to happen, mom and dad. Like, I'm going to create it. The world is going to, like, it's going to work out. And it took several conversations, and they would and fights, I should say. It wasn't just conversations. It was,
Thank you for your realness.
And it wasn't pretty. I'm so happy that we can laugh about it now. But I think it was my album release party where I had rented out the warehouse, the Great Company warehouse. I had gotten all these sponsors for the show. It was filled. There was like, I don't remember how many, 150 people there. It was just like, we've packed it. And I was able to create this Ion, and I was selling merch, and it was a moment where I saw my parents in the back of the space, and they were wearing my shirts, and they were just like hugging each other, and they were like happy. And my dad, after one of our fights, he got me a necklace of a guitar, and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna cry." He said, "Do what you want."
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry too. Jessica, I mean, that's what it's fine. We're crying, it's okay.
But we're artists. I'm not opposed to crying. Everyone cries around me and about it, but
same.
Fast forward to today, my mom, she just like, she's like, "Thank you for not listening to us." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she said because she can see it now. It's tough because they want what's best for us, and they can't see it, and neither can we. No, it's not real. And in hindsight, she's like, I really wanted you to have a good life and a good job, and I see now that you actually can create it for yourself. I have Kleenex next to me.
I wish I have so too. Jessica, thank you so much for your vulnerability and sharing that. I think this is something that I feel like I'm so passionate about, because when I was in my first band, New Heights, I was the only one with parents that like were supportive in the sense, and like everybody else was like, this is just a pipe dream type thing. And I feel so lucky that they were support. I mean, they weren't, like always, but they came to a point where it was like, oh, it's almost like our stubbornness is like they're like, okay, well, this is it then. But when you said, fights or conversations, like, I think it's so important for us, especially Asian American artists, to be able to what's the word? To have the courage to be able to have a real discourse, right? And even though it can be tough, right? Because I started to feel like, oh my gosh, like the translation in our parents' head, right, is they are going to, like, they are the pride and joy of my life, and all I want for them is to be safe. And all I've done for years is to have them be safe. And oh man, I'm gonna cry. And so it's like, that's all they want. And if we can approach it from that standpoint of like, this is my safety, right? Like, if there's a way that it sounds a little bit like you guys were able to reach that, right? But it's almost like if we can kind of arbitrage on this one thing of like, this is my safety, then maybe there's hope.
There's hope for everyone, for every person who has a dream. And it really is like, you have to stand inside of this future. Like, it is real. And that, by the way, that's the only way that I can continue to do what I do in the music industry. Because as an artist, you are literally creating from nothing. Nobody sees your vision. Nobody hears the music that you want to create. It's from you. And sometimes I'm even like, what do I want? I don't even know what it is. But this is why it like feels like you are jumping off a cliff every time you take on a new project, or every time you're like, yes, I'm going to do this. And you've got, like, if you stand inside of that, you will be unstoppable. And it's really just a matter of having the conversations to create what you want for your life.
Oh.
I do a lot of personal development too. So that's like, that was the only way that I could actually say what I'm saying now. The person who I was when I started was terrified, timid, couldn't speak up for myself, very obedient, unworthy, like shy, like I had to prove myself constantly. And every day, you know, that's kind of like, depending on the culture you grew up in or where you grew up, sometimes it's just like your default way of being. And it's not a bad thing, but it is, I know what I'm out to fulfill on in my life, it's not going to serve me. Like, those ways of being are not going to serve me. And what is going to serve me is continuing to stand on this vision of a Grammy on my shelf. And, you know, I'm reaching millions of people with my music. I'm financially, like, it's insanely abundant. And I'm just like, that's coming to me. And it's only going to come to me. I continue to show up for it.
That's the key. Oh my gosh, I love that so much, because the manifestation is also like a verb. I mean, it's a verb, right? It's not just right. We got to work for it too, but it's like, it sounds to me, and this is what I reflect back with your energy of like, we have to stand in that as a reality, because that's, one, the only thing that we have, but two, we're the only people that have that vision. So it's kind of on purpose in that sense to stand in it. And the funny thing about it is that oftentimes we as artists and people, we think that achievement is the goal, but achievement is the goal. I believe as an artist is to continuously evolve and grow. And it's like, if we don't stand in that vision of we're headed there, then we're not moving and we're not growing. It's almost like the act of doing is the real default. And if we can really trick our brains into thinking that, just the doing part, the journey of it, really, there's no there's no like, I know you, Jessica, even with the Grammy, you're like, cool, next, like, right? That's just a viewpoint. And so I just love that about you, and about how, you know, not taking no for an answer, because no's are subjective. Right? No's are relative to that. I mean, we are our own celestial beings, and we have our own purpose throughout this universe, and we're headed there as long as we can tap into that, you know. Just like, and just you're inspiring so many people right now.
Oh my God! Just curiosity, Travis, how many no's have you got?
Oh man. No, that's a great question.
Honestly, know how real this is, and how subjective the no is. Like,
no on all of the TV shows multiple times, you know, no's by multiple record labels, no's by managers, no's by I've been trying to apprentice like with mixing engineers for so long, like not even no's, just like ghosts, right? Like songwriting sessions, like art, like so many, and it's almost would you agree that it's almost like you have to allow those no's to become like white noise or something? It's almost like it doesn't really matter at that point, because it's more about just shooting your shot, and you just never know. It really is like timing, right? Like, oh well, opportunity. What's that quote? Opportunity comes.
Oh, opportunity plus like your preparedness, or like
Yeah,
whatever. Preparation equals luck.
Equals luck. So yeah, the no's have been abundant for me, but it's almost like I've personally have tried to shift my brain into thinking a no is like a no is like a blocked off street that has a farmer's market that you're like, oh, okay, I got to figure out how to go around. You know, it's not a stopping progress. How about you? How many no's? And what was actually, that's a good question. What was a no that really was a catalyst for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first one, how many no's? Yeah, all the TV shows, all the labels, like, all these things. And then it's hilarious because then you have people being like, you should audition for American Idol. I'm like, oh, you only knew that you want me. Oh, many times. And yeah, there were no's all over the place. I started to avoid them. And I think when I started to avoid that was when I started to put myself in a I need to do this all myself box. Wow. Yeah, which actually then was like ridiculous. Because the truth is, if we can't be with the no, we can't be with the yes either.
Yeah. That's so good. If we can't be with the no, we can't be with the yes either. That is so, you know what, that makes me think of, that's that same line of like, you can't accept love if you don't love yourself, right?
Yes.
We almost become I mean, that is the term guarded, right? We become too guarded, where even people that want to help out, or even think we just see everyone as an enemy. There's this great book that I've been reading. I treat it like it's my devotional now. It's like I read it. I probably read it or reread it like every month, but it's called The Courage to be Disliked. And I'll send you the link. It's changed my life, because he kind of talks about this thing called Adlerian psychology, but it's about happiness is actually your propensity to community feeling. And community feeling is defined by when we are giving to a community, like not just direct community, but we're giving to our family, our friends, but also the greater good, right? Because there's a saying in the book that says you can be alone and never feel lonely, but you can be around everyone and still feel lonely. And it's because we can get in our heads sometimes and we think that we don't matter, right? And so when it literally clicked my mind when he goes, happiness is community feeling, meaning if I'm contributing, then I matter and I can do wonders with that. It doesn't matter anymore what it is, the outcome, but I can at least continue giving, and that's happiness. And I've just been trying to live in that. And just as a musician, Jessica, like, would you agree that some of your happiest times are literally like that exchange of performing and being with people that are just not even enamored by you, but enamored by the moment that you're sharing? Like,
that is pure magic honor, that experience. I've even been seeing this for myself. This past week, I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and I've been seeing how much I've been like, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta do this. And I also, something I'm discovering, even just in this conversation, was like, I haven't played like a proper show, like a public show, and like, well, I mean, obviously COVID, but COVID kind of just fed into it, Right. It's been like over 2 years or so.
Same.
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
I know. And I'm like, my heart is like, please do it. And then my brain is like, yeah, but you're going to have to fill this. You're going to have to do this. And you have to X, Y, and Z this. Right. And something that I'm like newly discovering is that I haven't even been allowing others to contribute to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And that's something I was going to share with you too. Like all of these like partnerships that I'm looking to cultivate, this and that. I've been like, yeah, I got to do it because that is like the next step to do. I get very like this mechanical, right? Like I'm standing in the field. So this is what I got to do. And like, we forget Jessica. That. Yeah. 2 + 2 = 4. But in the world of like music and messiness and play and creativity, and 2 plus 2 could equal whatever you want, and it doesn't have to look linear. If we wanted a linear career, we should just go be the lawyers that are my parents wanted me to be. And
even those, as linear as those tracks are, we're seeing through the Great Resignation and all this, like, I got my dream job and I've never been more sad in my life. Like, what,
Yeah. And we see that in the music industry. I've seen people now get $1 million deals, lose all their money, or like spend it all. I've seen people win the Grammy and be like, I want to kill myself. Like, and we've seen the I got this and I'm happier than ever. Like, that's usually what you mostly see. We won't see like the artists who are really struggling because we can't share that. Right. But the truth is, like, I think it's really important to cultivate that community or like a handful of your like committed listeners who know you beyond what your whatever stuff in your head says about you, because they'll get you straightened out. And this is why, like, I'm in the process of creating a new album, and I'm gonna share this. I'm working with the most incredible people that I've been manifesting and just really like cultivating. And I was like, I want to work with like Grammy Award winners. I want to work with people who are like, in the industry. I'm pushing my career to the next level with this body of work.
Hell yeah.
And then I've been working with them. And then what I just discovered, and I told them this the other day, they go on tour with like Camila, they go on tour with whoever, like they're MDing for whoever, they're just constantly working with the best of the best. I'm like, and what I made it up in my head was like, I'm not Doja, Camila, Madonna. I'm not any of these people. Who am I to like speak up for what I want and say what I really want? And I just told them that. I said, like, I've been like really relating to myself as so small, and they both looked at me like, Jessica, I don't even know how to tell you how wrong you are.
Wow.
They were like, you like, please step up to your greatness. Like and real musicians, like one artist is not just because you are X, Y, and Z person does not mean that this person is better than this person or whatever.
Right.
It's so powerful when we do just like get in communication. And I don't know how we got on this topic, but I'm just like, this is the week that I've had. Like, this is, and by the way, this is like work also. The internal stuff is just as powerful. It feeds into the music. It feeds into the vibe. It feeds into like creating.
I mean, it's all our art, right? Like our life is art, and I think that's something that I want a lot of aspiring artists to know, is that the art that we create is not like, I used to create my art from such an ego, and I still tap into that sometimes, And it's funny because when we can erase the ego, or we can put our ego into something else, right? Like, there's this thing I tweeted the other day. I was reading this golf book, and a golf coach was saying, he said something like, a lot of players put their ego into their swing, and he's like, don't put your ego into your swing, put your ego into your setup system before you swing. And he was kind of saying that if you have pride in the way you set up things, then you can swing and have a bad swing, but you know that you're prepared. And I was like, as a musician, we put our pride so much in the records, and then if the record does well, or even if it doesn't do well, we put our pride in the outcome. And it's, as an artist, I spent the last decade, Jessica, thinking that was our job, right? Our job was to to guarantee an outcome, when honestly, it's about like literally putting it out there and just allowing the music to connect with real people. And that's why I love what you were talking about, just with even your community of the incredible musicians that are working on your album, of like, we can suffer in silence for so long as artists because it's so easy to now. We get our beats, from all these websites, and we open up Pro Tools or Logic, and we sit here for hours. But the act of music is communal, right? And it's almost like, it's like we're just keeping our seeds to ourselves, but when it really can manifest and become real when we allow ourselves to, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
It really is so hard. But even in your vulnerability, let me ask you, what did it feel like when they said that to you? What, like, when they were like, you couldn't be more wrong, in like the most loving way?
like a whole weight lifted off my shoulders that I didn't know I was carrying.
That you didn't know.
No. Because I was doing everything right. I'm like, okay, we scheduled these dates. Like, I'm going in. I'll come in so prepared, like this and that. And then something would happen, and I just would be like, what we did there, but like I couldn't actually say it because it's just like how I grew up. Like don't speak up. So when they said it, it was like, you are so ridiculous, Jessica. I was like, looking at myself, and just like, what in the world? Why were you carrying that? You are so silly. You say you want this, and who you're being is tiny, small, and not speaking up for yourself. How do you think that's not going to come to you?
There's this great Ethan Hawke TED Talk. The theme about it is play the fool. And it's really helped me a lot these past couple of weeks. And he pretty much sums it up saying our job as artists is actually to play the fool. It's to be the one that people like point at and there as an example. Like, and our job is not to be anything else. So it really, if you really think about it, right? Like our job as artists is to speak for others that can't speak for themselves. And a lot of the time, ego and pride gets in the way of just even like anyone, right? Like I can't say this, I can't, but we are kind of the arbiters of the message. And so if we can focus on, my job here is literally to play the fool, and my task here is not to like guarantee an outcome, but it's literally to create an example. It's funny because it's all so much about community. It's all so much about caring and about like serving each other. It kind of brings you to the next question about your company and about what it represents, and like how did you come to that? Like what was the catalyst or the motivation for you to be like, you know what, like this is a problem I want to tackle?
I think it was like realizing exactly what we're talking about now. Like, wow, I keep trying to do this in my room by myself, and I'm like in a box. X, Y, and Z like said no, so I should just do it myself so nobody can say no. And then I was so just like lonely and unhappy, and things weren't moving. And like I say that like I'm so complete by it. I'm like, that was just that was just where I was at. And a lot of people had already been like, wow, you're doing so good, or like you did this, and like, oh my gosh, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Then I'd go back to my room and just be like, what is this for? What am I doing? And I just started talking to other artists. And I also started teaching. And teaching is something that is like a cornerstone to my, like who I am on this earth. Like it's one of my purposes. And early on, I was like, you can't be a teacher, because that quote of like those who can't teach. And I was like, who made that up? That's messed up.
Yeah,
like,
I don't like that.
From the people who can. Like, those are the best teachers. And I want to be a teacher. So I started teaching. I got a job at MI, Musicians Institute in Hollywood. And just like, oh yeah, I don't know if you knew that I worked there.
I didn't. Wow, that's amazing. If you guys don't know MI is Musicians Institute, and it's one of like the most renowned music colleges or universities to go to. A lot of people go there.
Yes, so many people have met their like groups there, right? Anderson .Paak met all of those guys. They went to MI. They're MI grads.
Makes
Bishop
sense
Briggs.
because they're so good.
Yeah. I know, and the list goes on. So I got a job there. Like, I was like, oh, thank you. I just kind of need a job right now. Like I just come back from a residency in the Maldives and was like, give me a job. I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now. And got a job at MI, the best job. It was amazing. Discovered how much I loved to teach and how much I loved to just talk to other artists who were like earlier on or further on, whatever. Didn't matter, because it was the same thing. We were all going through the same thing. Like, I'm trying to put my song out on Spotify. I'm trying to get everybody to listen to it. And then once everybody listens to it, I'm going to be happy. You can ask any artist who's had whatever millions or hundreds of thousands or whatever streams. Like, that is not what brings you happiness. It'll give you a temporary high. You'll be like, yes. so high is what I call it. And they were all going through the same thing. And I was like, wow, how can we shift this? What can I create that really brings back the true essence of music, which is the community, like creating music in community. And I've almost just like solely dedicated all of my like singing and like experiences to experiencing that. Like if I don't experience flow, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not worth it for me. And yes, so by the way, have you read Effortless Mastery? Have you read that book?
No, but I'm writing it down. Oh my God.
We're gonna change our book list after
yes.
this. But it's by jazz pianist Kenny Werner, and it's really about like the true essence of music and why we even do music in the first place, which is to connect and to heal. Yeah, people were like, when they started like making sounds with their voices, it was just to release stuff. Like what is this, And then they would, you would sing, and it would bring a sense of community. And that's like the basis of the school. I started it in the midst of COVID, and I was just hosting.
What's it called again? I just want everyone to know.
Oh yes, it's called the Indie Artist Studio. It is our home. It was made by independent artists like myself, and I had a couple other people who supported me and just in some of the early like things that you do when you start a business.
Early days.
Yes, the early days, and I started hosting free workshops for people to sing. I was like, yo, everybody come sing. Everybody come sing with me. I don't care if you're good, bad, whatever. Just come sing. And I originally had attracted a lot of independent artists who were like, I want to sing, but I also want to create my career. So I ended up taking on a lot of one-to-one coachees and would coach them through creating a fulfilling career. And also utilizing their voice to just express and release, like just kind of rewriting the code on what we know our like careers to look like. And then I started opening up to groups. And then from there, I had a couple people who were like, hey, Jessica, I'm a nurse and I really want to sing. Like, can I sing with you? And I'd be like, yes, yes. And sure enough, it started growing and growing, not just to independent artists. Now we have select independent artists who maybe want like more one-to-one stuff. And then we have something that I had been beta testing for the last year and a half of like group coaching open to singers of all levels. And it's called Vocal Mastery for the Creative Spirit.
Oh.
And actually, yeah. So I'm like,
so it's so unintimidating. You know what I mean? Like, because it's intimidating for a non-singer or someone starting to find their voice. Yes. And oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And it's the same techniques I use for the high performing singers. So like so I'm also coaching. I have, a student who's on tour. She's an independent artist, somebody who's playing at Burning Man next weekend. I have somebody who's, I
got friends going.
Yeah,
tell them.
I was sad. And
I know.
I can't.
Next year, I'm trying to know next year.
Exactly. We'll both go next year. But right now, like the universe was like, yo, you need to focus. Like exactly. And it takes sacrifice. I was feeling really sad about it yesterday again. I was like, man, then I got invited to another trip, all this stuff. But I started coaching and I have like handful of one-to-one independent artists who are like, I need just one. I just needed to be me. But I have a handful of those who are good singers joining the Vocal Mastery for the Creative Spirit. It's for singers of all levels and it's open. Our very first non-beta test like class starts the day after my birthday, September 13th. It's a Tuesday.
Happy birthday soon.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. It's officially Virgo season, so get ready to experience all of the madness of being a perfectionist and detail-oriented.
I love it. Aquarius,
but yes.
And Virgos get along, so I love it.
Yeah. And so that's what that's turned into. It's just like, wow, people. It's not. Sometimes people get really ego driven in singing too. I don't sound good. I shouldn't open my mouth. That is the conversation. Oh, someone told me a long time ago I wasn't good at singing. So even in karaoke, I'll just leave someone else to do it. I'll just sing in my shower. And that's happy. The same thing that I said to you earlier. If you can't be with a no, you can't be with a yes. If you can't be with bad sounds coming out of your mouth or something that's not so pleasant, there's no way you're going to allow the best of your voice to come out.
Wow.
Like that. You're like, no.
You're closed off to everything, even the good.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get like good for now or like, oh, this is what I want to sound like. But what I do is I open people up to like, well, there's more in you. First off, I can hear it and I can see it. I can see that you're only singing from your throat. And secondly, like I put my students through exercises of full body exercises to kind of just get you out of your head, into your body, give you the breath techniques, give you the foundations, and now just make noise. And I call it like the Michelangelo technique. Like give me your full voice first. Wow. And then let's just chisel away the stuff that you don't like, but allow yourself to go there.
That's so good. I love it because it's almost like you're utilizing the thing that you love and you know so well, and you're giving that life, but it's teaching so many other things, like not just, right? Like it's so easy for us, especially Asian Americans, to be meek, right? Because it's our sense of safety.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it, right, is like, what's the one thing in like the jungle, right, that like all animals know of? It's the lion's roar. And it sounds like to me you are allowing people to finally roar with their authentic selves. And it's not even just about music at that point. It's like, yo, you are allowed to be here. You are not just allowed, but we want you to be here. And yeah, I just see so many great lessons in this, Jessica. Like you're seriously like the lessons you're teaching people are going to continue to echo into existence. And I love teaching, just like the same as you, because it's like those lessons, like they're not our lessons, right? They are like the universe's lessons, and we're just acting as instruments through us. And those lessons continue to go, and we'll never know how far they reach, right? We'll never know how many generations go through with these parents and kids and all that stuff. I think it's absolutely amazing. If I can ask you real quick, what was like, I know that you had said, you needed a job and everything before, but like, it seems to me like the courage that like comes from, as I'm just saying this, I'm thinking about it. It seems like there's a lot of courage when we're in community. Like there's a lot of fear when we close ourselves off. But as soon as we say yes to something or open up a little bit, we can become more courageous. Would that be fair, like to say about your journey at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. The more that I started to trust people, the more that I started to allow people to contribute to me, the more that I just stopped hiding. And it's ironic because I, post on social media every day. People are like, you're not hiding. Like, I'm not telling you the truth. I'm not even, the more that I like got to understand what my truth is, and then the more that I cultivated and made it a priority to create a community around me that was always going to be like, I know you, Jessica. I see you past this, like, playing small person. I know what you're committed to. Like, that is going to make the biggest difference forever. So a lot of people, I heard this from a mentor the other day. He was saying, self-made is a myth. Like a self-made millionaire, self-made whatever is a myth. It takes an army of people. And yeah, it's from that one person, but that one person like created all of this other stuff. Like they created the community, they created investments, they created the music, they needed the partner, whatever that got them there. It's not us in our rooms by ourselves producing, singing. That we've seen that does happen. Right? Like it's not to discredit that, but the way that those people got even further was still with an army.
Right. Yeah. I heard this quote the other day about be the orchestra constructor of your business. And it clicked all of a sudden, right? Like it's that, like exactly everything you're saying. we think that it's just the orchestra, but like a conductor, right? That's arranging and everything. But actually, that's the only person that like so it's impossible to be your own orchestra. We have to find our orchestra, right? And it's about finding the people that want to be in our orchestra and just aligning, right? That's all it is. Oh, I love that you said that, because I've been trying, as a serial, a lone person producing, like the joke, right, amongst all producers, like during COVID was like, in 2021, all the producers opened their door. And I was like, wait, what? What's happening? Because it's just
One that was like when you realize your lifestyle is called quarantine.
it's so good. I love that. It's so true. And I guess the last question, I mean, we'll have to do another one. I would love to continue having on these, Jessica, because you're such an inspiration. But if I could ask you one last question, because I feel like the energy is so good in what we're talking about right now. If you could go back to your 15-year-old self, and you could remember, like, I'm remembering now when I was 15, and like the pressures I was feeling, and like how scary it was to even like try to dream this big, or all those things of like my naivete about how the music industry, I didn't even know what that was. Like I think when I was 15, I started to learn chords and like learn how to play the guitar and stuff. If you could tell, like, like 15-year-old Jessica something, knowing everything that you've been through, all and especially where you're going, like, but you could only say one sentence to her, what would that be?
I would say stop trying to prove yourself to everyone and just be.
Stop trying to prove yourself to everyone and just be. I needed that yesterday.
I know. I just got that today. This morning through my meditation. Because she's still there, 15-year-old versions of us, they're still there. And I would also tell her, I'm so proud of you. And yeah, stop trying to prove yourself. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. Oh my God. I feel like I'm telling myself that right now.
I was writing down this question, Jessica, and I started to cry myself, like before even this, because I was thinking, oh man, I'm going to cry again. I was thinking about what I would tell myself, and it's very much the same. Stop trying to prove yourself. You don't need to. And I think it's also that I wanted to, when I was young, I wanted to, and all of us, we still do, but we want to prove ourselves because we don't know what we deserve. For me, I would tell myself, you have no idea how great it's going to be. Like, you just don't. And the life that we've lived, the life that we're living, like, it's easy to think that we don't know, but it's just, life is beautiful. It's beyond our understanding. And like, did you feel like you'd ever, like, I know you knew it, but like, especially in those fights with your parents, I mean, like, did you ever think that you were going to be working with this team, having your own business, Jessica, inspiring all these people? Like, it's really incredible.
Not at all. Not at all. I had to, like, it was cute. It was a cute dream. And it was like, I'm going to get there somewhere, somehow. Like, but it was still like this, like, vague, like, I wonder what that's going to look like. It's so nice being like, oh God, this is what it looks like. And it's the same thing for the new vision. I'm like, before I used to be like, that's cute. That'll be great when I, when I win, like if I win, and it almost takes like you really saying and declaring, oh, I want, and this is the entire experience of it. This is where I live. This is what I do every day. This is like paint that picture and start living it today. Cause that's what is going to pull it towards you. When we can put aside our ego, like, what do you truly want? Like, and why do you want it? Cause I'm also clear that, that piece of metal is just a measure of me, like, pursuing my dreams relentlessly. It's nothing else but that. I get it. I'm not even going to be surprised. Oh, I did it. Like, because I did all this. But, oh my God, I'm realizing so much in the last, like, week or two, even with like, funding my stuff. And like, because I've also realized, I love not having to be like, oh, what does what do my investors want, or what do my people who help circus want? And also like I've kind of just dug myself into this like weird like hole of like, Jessica, figure it out. Figure out how you're gonna make the money then. Figure this out. Figure X, Y, and Z out. Like again, doing this thing. It just comes up and I'm like not mad at it anymore. I'm just like, oh, you were trying to protect me. So cute.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. I love
Yeah.
that was really good.
It's always just trying to protect you. Like that thing that resistance, or like we have to love it. We have to say thank you and be like, okay, I got it from here.
Thank you so much. Seriously, this has been amazing as always. Is there anything like else that did you want to shout out anything else out, or like
if you are a singer, or if you desire to sing, or if you want to get better in your craft and try something new, I would just invite you to check out the Indie Artist Studio, or send me, Jessica Louise, a direct message on Instagram. I'd love to just connect with you.